Welcome to the Parkland Report. I'm Stephanie Stewart, Vice President for Communications and External Affairs at Parkland College and your host for today's show. This is the show where we talk to people making things happen here at Parkland College. Today we have two outstanding guests. First we'll talk with Brennan Hightower, who's our career counselor, and then later in the show we'll talk with Amy Chamley, who's a faculty member in our early childhood education program. But first, let's chat with Brennan. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You've told me it's a great time of year actually to have you on.
Tell
us why.
Yes, I'm grateful to be here because it's November, and November is National Career Development Month, so it's really exciting. So it's a great time to talk about career services.
That's great. Yeah, we didn't know we were timing necessarily for this, but it worked out, and so what better time to share about all the different career services at Parkland College. So tell us about your role here at Parkland.
My name is Brennan Hightower, career counselor here at Parkland. So primarily I work one-on-one with students and people from the community. So career services is unique because I do get that opportunity to work with people from the community, and they don't necessarily have to be enrolled in a course here. If someone is undecided, we can talk about their major or what they think they may want to do. And one of the ways that we do that is by having them take a career assessment. So we actually offer two. They're free of charge. The first one is called Pathway U. It's a 20-minute interest assessment. It looks at things in your environment, things that you like. The second one is called U-Science. It's a 90-minute aptitude test, and it's based on how your brain is wired. So it's very interesting. I do encourage people to take breaks because I don't want them to get overwhelmed. Both of them, regardless of which one you take, they both give excellent results, but they may give you something different. So I would encourage people to take both of them, kind of compare them and see, what information it provides you with, and then begin to narrow down that information. And sometimes people don't know how to narrow down the information. So what I tell them to do is learn the platform, use the filters. If you already know that you only want to go to school for 2 years, take out everything beyond that, and that's going to filter out a whole lot, and it's going to help you get to your results faster. So we really spend some time on taking the career assessment and then scheduling a follow-up so that we can have that conversation of what do the results mean and how do you get from where you are with the assessment to your next steps. Aside from working with students and the community on what do I do, I'm undecided, we can work with people that are deciding on I kind of have an idea of what I want to do, but where do I go from here? Or maybe they're a career changer, so then we look at their unique situation and figure out what services are going to be best for them. So it could be having a review of their cover letter and resume and offering some revisions. It could be a mock interview. It can be in person or on Microsoft Teams, whatever they feel comfortable with. It could be simply having a conversation on what skills do they have to take into the next job. What transferable skills do you have? I meet with a lot of students who, let's say they are entry level, but they've worked in, let's say, the restaurant industry, but they want to go into, a health profession. So they may say, I don't have any experience with health professions outside of my clinicals. So then we have a conversation on what have you done in the past? What are those transferable skills that you can bring from being in the restaurant industry and apply to health professions? So it really depends on what that person's situation is, and we can tailor those conversations. So that may be a session for career planning. We can also do things like optimizing their LinkedIn account. Just last week or the week before, I was in a classroom giving a presentation on how to set up your LinkedIn profile. That was really important, especially with the pandemic. A lot of jobs are on there, and it's really important for us to show students and people from the community how to let the tools work for them. And so there's resume builders on there, there's AI mock interviews on there. There's a lot of features in LinkedIn that I don't think a lot of people are aware of. Another gem of LinkedIn is that Parkland has partnered with LinkedIn, and so students and employees can use LinkedIn Learning, and a lot of people don't know that. So that's free education on top of what you're already getting. So we have those conversations, and it's tailored to those unique individual needs. So it's a really interesting job.
It sounds like it. It sounds so personalized to the individual, which is really exciting because that means you're going to get a lot out of that interaction. And you hear so much in the community as well about those employers that are out there that are wanting to find the right candidate. And so it sounds almost like a really good way that we can provide that service both to that person as well as our employers that are needing those folks with transferable skills. Maybe they haven't held the job before,
right?
But they can be a great fit,
right?
That's great. So those individuals that come and they're not sure yet, maybe they haven't even enrolled at Parkland, they go through that process. How does your office collaborate with, let's say, advising, or what those next steps are once they say, okay, I want to go into a health profession? What comes next, Brennan?
Right. So if someone were to say, okay, thank you for the information, this is what I want to do, and then we would start explaining steps to them. For example, have you completed the application for Parkland? Have you completed your financial aid? It wouldn't be right to the advisor because there would be steps that they would have to take, but we would talk about those steps, and then we would make referrals as necessary to make sure they get to the right office and get in the right hands. And if that means walking them to the department that they need, we can do that too. Just making sure that we kind of help them along the way, excuse me, to get to where they want to be.
That's great. And I know a lot of members of our community, they know, I should go to college, but what does that look like?
Right.
And everyone's journey is just so different. So it's great to know that there's maybe that first place that they can go to figure out what they would be signing up for, and that it would be a good fit for their skill set.
Yes. And sometimes it may be a referral to community education. Maybe they don't need to take several courses in a transfer degree program. Maybe they need to be connected with SWIFT, or maybe they need to be connected to community education for a phlebotomy class or something. So it just depends on what they need, and just making sure that we can connect them and take them to that next step, whatever that means for them.
That's great. One of the things I've just observed since Brennan's been at Parkland is that she does a really great job getting the word out, and social media is a place where our career services is very active and present. So can you tell our viewers how they can learn about your services on those different outlets?
Yes, so we're excited. We do have an Instagram account. So right now our Instagram is being ran by our career services assistant, Emma. She's bringing a lot of fresh content to Instagram, so it's really fun to watch. Just this month, for National Career Development Month, she was featured on the National Career Development Association's website. For this month, they're using a hashtag Amplifier 2022. She used that in one of her posts and went up alongside of a lot of other institutions using the Amplifier 22 hashtag as well. So that was, fun, a nice highlight to see. So you can check out all of our Instagram content, and it has a lot about just career services and services that we offer, jobs that are hiring, just a lot of great content.
That's great. How do people find or set up an appointment? So can they walk in? Do they need to schedule in advance? How does that work?
So people can go to the front desk in advising and schedule an appointment that way, but they can also go to parkland.edu/career services and schedule an appointment through Microsoft Bookings, and then they can choose their time, the date, and if they want it in person or online.
Great. And if I'm an employer in the community and I say, man, I have these job openings I can't fill, but there are people coming to Brennan's office who are looking for that next career, how do I put that opportunity in front of them? What opportunities do we share with employers as well?
Right, so right now, employers have two options. They can email careerservices@parkland.edu and set up a table in the student union. They can do that Monday through Friday from 10 to 1, or they can also post their posting on the job board College Central Network, which can be found on the Career Services website or by typing in College Central Network on Parkland's website.
That's great. And you mentioned to me you have a lot of really exciting things coming up for the spring, so I want to make sure to ask you about them so that you can share them with our viewers. So what is next on the horizon for career services?
All right, so we're excited about spring because we're going to continue to offer the same offerings that we've been offering. However, we want to shake things up just a little bit, and so in January we're going to focus on National Mentoring Month. So during that month you will see Emma at our informational table in the College Center as well as the Student Union. But in addition to that, we will have one-on-one sessions that will cover mentoring. So Emma will actually be meeting with students and talking about the benefits of having a mentor relationship and what does that look like. So you're on your educational journey, you're on your career journey. What does it look like to have a mentor? What would be the benefit? So we're going to do that all throughout the month of January. In February, instead of focusing on an entire theme month, we're going to focus on February the 20th. That's National Leadership Day. So instead of offering one-on-one sessions for mentoring like in January, I'll do one-on-one 30-minute sessions for leadership skills. So I'll meet one-on-one with people and talk about what experiences do you have, and then bring out those leadership skills so that they're leaving with a list of personal leadership skills that they can use and apply moving forward. And that can be in their college education, that can be in their career journey, whatever it may be, they'll have a list of those skills. In March, we want to focus on the mini job fair. We hosted it last year. It was great, but we want to, of course, make it better. Yeah. So we're going to spend all of March focusing on the job fair. That will be, it's tentative, March 29th. And then in April, we want to focus on April 4th through 10th. That's National Student Employment Week. So instead of a whole theme month, we want to take that month and really pull out what skills should student employees have when they apply for these positions. So we're working on that. So we're excited. Some new things, but still keeping with our traditional career services.
I love that. Yeah, having a mentor in your career journey is such a huge piece. Yes. And can really help you be brave enough to take that next step, yes. Whether it's coming back to Parkland or it's just moving along and into a leadership role potentially. Yes. So it's great that you guys are opening doors and helping. I love the idea of leaving with a list of leadership yes. skills. We may not think those things about ourselves, but if somebody else helps to identify them, then you may really say, yeah, I do have that yes. in my back pocket.
Yes, and everybody has something, and they may just not think about it. You know, it may take a conversation to have someone pull it out of them a little bit. So I'm excited about, what's to come and what that looks like.
That's wonderful. Well, Brennan, I really appreciate you visiting the show, sharing all the things that Career Services does at Parkland and the things that are on the horizon. We'd love to check back in with you maybe in the fall and see how the spring went and what else you've got planned because it's such a vital service to our students and to our community.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes. All right, that's it for our first segment today. We're going to go ahead and take a break, and when we come back, we'll have Amy Chamley, who is a faculty member in early childhood education.
Welcome to Career Services at Parkland College. If you're undecided about a major or career choice, we have services available to assist you. For example, did you know that taking a career assessment early will help you save time and money in the long haul? We currently offer 2 career assessments. The first one is Pathway U. It's a 20-minute interest assessment. It's based on values, things in your environment, things that you like. The second one is an aptitude test. It's U-Science, it's 90 minutes long, and it's based on how your brain is wired. Both give excellent results. If you're interested, please visit parkland.edu/career services. For those that already have a career path in mind or know their intended major, we still have services available to assist you. For example, we can help with setting up and optimizing your LinkedIn profile, mock interviews, job search planning, and resume and cover letter reviews, just to name a few. So if you're interested in any of these services, please visit parkland.edu/career services. Have a great day.
Welcome back to the Parkland Report. My next guest is Amy Chamley. She's a member of the Parkland faculty as well as the program director for early childhood education at Parkland. Welcome, Amy.
Hi, good to be here.
So talk to us a little bit about your program and when you started becoming involved at Parkland and teaching on a part-time basis.
Well, so I started teaching part-time at Parkland in 2017, but my history in the child development and early childhood education program goes back a little bit farther than that. I actually I had been a marketing person for years, and then I had kids, and I was a stay-at-home mom, and I wasn't good at that. I had to have a job, and so I asked my kids' preschool director if I could do an internship at their preschool. And she said, we don't do internships. If you want a job, you need to get a job here. So I said, okay, but I don't have any background. And she said, well, go to Parkland, take some classes. So I came to Parkland, I took a couple classes. Fast forward 10 years, I've been working as a preschool director and teacher for a long time. And I go ahead and get my master's degree. And then I thought, well, you know what, maybe I want to teach at Parkland. And Nancy Gomer, who was in charge of the child development program at the time, called me up in the middle of July and said, Amy, I need a teacher. Can you help me? And so I came and I started teaching at Parkland almost 10 years to the day after I took the classes that I started teaching. So that was about 5 years ago. I taught as a part-time faculty for a while. And then in January, I became full-time and director of the early childhood education program.
What a great full circle story at Parkland. I feel like that's a lot. That's actually quite a common story, even with members of our faculty that want to come back.
It's fun to tell students in class, like, I was sitting in here, you know, and now I get to teach you. So
yeah, and it's great that you bring that experience from the classroom as a director to our students. I'm sure that they find a lot of value from that as well. So tell me a little bit about some recent attention on early childhood education. I have young kids, and one of the things that parents are talking about is really the shortage of early childhood workforce and workers that are not just in a daycare setting, but also in school settings. And it's impacting families and actually kids' access to early childhood. There are local Head Starts that have had to close locations, and it really is impacting the community. So maybe give me a little bit of context about
Sure.
where your program sits and supports all of that.
Absolutely. So there's estimates that since the pandemic, over 100,000 people have left the field of early childhood education, and that 30,000 child care centers have closed. So there weren't enough teachers, there weren't enough providers, and there weren't enough centers before the pandemic, and now we have so many fewer. So knowing all of that and knowing how hard it is to find people to provide care for children, Illinois, the state, decided to make a pretty sizable investment in early childhood education, trying to help people who are already working in the field kind of credential up, skill up in their area so they can be directors or head teachers or go ahead and get their professional teaching license so they can teach in public school. Part of that is that the state is now providing scholarships for people who are working in the field, incumbent workers, who are going to classes at Parkland or other institutions throughout Illinois. So the way it works is if you've been working and you sign up for classes at Parkland, you can apply for, it's called the ECACE, and I can never remember what that stands for. It's Early Childhood Access to Equity Consortium, something like that. You can apply for the scholarship, and it will cover up to your entire college costs, including books and some other costs as well, childcare, that kind of thing. So we're lucky. Parkland is part of the recipient of this grant, which is the reason that we brought back our child development or early childhood education program. It was, we had sort of sunsetted it for a while, and realized that there's a need and that we can provide a lot of help to a lot of people in the community. Providers certainly need more qualified teachers, and parents need places for their kids to go. So we brought back our whole program. We offer an associate's degree now and in early childhood education, and that sets people up to either go into a child care facility as a head teacher or director, or to transfer into a 4-year program in early childhood education at the junior level. So they get to get in there and start doing all the early childhood education classes, don't have to spend a lot of time on gen eds that might have been required before this program started.
And since the state has made this investment, I know that there is some local navigator structure to help recruit
Right.
existing workers. So
Right.
how do you collaborate
work?
with them? How does that work?
We collaborate really, really well, actually. We have 2 local navigators who are housed in Child Care Resource and Referral on the U of I campus. And what they do is they go out to all the providers in our region and share the news about this program. Basically say, hey, do you know, as a teacher, an assistant teacher, or somebody who's thinking about getting your associate's degree, you can go to Parkland and you can apply for these funds to pay for your education. So we currently have about between 25 and 30, I think, students who are on that scholarship here at Parkland.
Wow.
And it's all due to, us getting the word out that this program is available and people saying, hey, you know what, I really want to do this. I really want to make sure that I am doing the best practices, the best developmentally appropriate stuff with kids, and I'm learning that in classes at Parkland.
That's great. And it's great to hear that you've had just that amount of growth. I mean, when you talk about the enrollment spurred by the state support, it's been pretty staggering. So you have that many on the scholarship, but how much has your program grown over the last couple of years?
Well, so I taught last spring, and the max number of students I had in one of my classes was 10. And as a whole, we had about 13 people that were kind of loosely in the program because there wasn't really even a program then. We're at about 54 right now.
Wow.
And this is amazing to me, I just had to add a section to one of our classes because we're full. And all of our students need to take this, it's infants and toddlers, care of infants and toddlers. So we had to add another section so that we have enough space for all the students, which is something that I didn't anticipate last year at this time.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's really, really remarkable. Yeah. So you talk about care of infants and toddlers. Talk about the courses that students would take. So if one of our viewers is sitting back saying, this is something that I have always thought about, I would be interested in doing, it would be fulfilling work, what does that entail on the academic side of things?
So one of the things that we have done with the program is we have moved all of our classes to either fully online or hybrid classes. So our fully online are all asynchronous online. It means you can sort of do it at your own pace, in your own home, or at your work, or wherever you can fit it in. Mm-hmm. And then hybrids, we have class meetings on Monday or Tuesday nights from 6 to 7:30 or 6:30 to 8. We're monkeying with that a little bit because I know that a lot of my students are coming from working in a center, which closes at 5:30, so it's hard for them to get here at 6. So, but it's an hour and a half in the classroom with me, one night a week for a class. And we've also condensed many of them into 8-week classes, so that semesters, so that you can sort of pile up classes on top of each other and fit as much in as you can. Because what we want to make sure is that people who are working in the field can fit this into their schedule. I know that many of my students are parents, which is one job. They're working in a center or doing some other job, which is another job, and then they're adding school to it, which is essentially another job. So we try to make it as sort of adaptable as we can to their schedules. When they come to class, I try to make it as hands-on and interesting as we possibly can. And since so many of my students are already working, we spend a lot of time sharing stories about what's happening in their center or what do you do in this situation. I'm teaching socialization and guidance in about an hour. And tonight we're talking about biting. What do we do with biters? Because this is something that every early childhood provider has to deal with somewhere along the line. So we talk about the practical things that you're going to encounter in your work or you are already encountering. And one of my favorite things is when I have a group of students who are talking about, like when we talk about biting later, someone in the class will inevitably come up with something that I never thought of before and share that with everyone else. And this is a thing that's really worked for me. And I think that's one of the most important and really most impactful parts of the classes at Parkland is that you get to share those experiences with others. And I've done it myself. I was a teacher and a director for years, but that was several years ago, and so having those students who have the experiences that they can share is really, really, really valuable.
Yeah, it sounds like it's immediately transferable. They may be coming to you having just had that happen today.
Absolutely, absolutely. I get a lot, since they do come straight from work a lot, I have a lot of, okay, so this is what happened today, what do we do? And we all talk about it together and try to come up with some options and appropriate approaches.
That's great that they're able to have that workshop it in class and then take it back, and I'm sure it benefits their colleagues as well.
Yeah.
So the students, they'll progress, they'll finish the associate's degree, and then where can they go? So what are their options? You'd mentioned licensure and all of the other pieces, and I know that the core of this legislation was also to make sure that people had access to the bachelor's degree should they choose it.
Right.
So how do you guide students in that regard?
Right. So what we do is I meet with every student at least twice during the year individually to go through their schedules, to talk about what's their path, what's their plan, where are they going, what do they want to do, and talk about what the best fit for them would be after they're done here with their associate's degree. Some of my students are totally happy with the associate's degree. They're going to go be a director or something, and that's all they need and that's all they want. Many of my students are really interested in going on and getting that bachelor's degree. So they'll transfer into a 4-year program in early childhood education, and many of the programs in our area, so like ISU and U of I, have now developed online programs as well, so that they can continue to do their work and do their school at the same time. They'll go and they'll do student teaching. They'll take almost exclusively education, specifically early childhood education classes, and that will prepare them for their teaching license. So at the end of that road, they'll take their licensure test, get their license, and they are ready to go and teach pre-K through 2nd grade in Illinois schools.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. And we need more of those too. A lot more of those.
Absolutely. And there's also all those pre-K services that are offered within the public school context as well as private centers or publicly funded centers. So that's key. So the students that are coming in, they're able to take part in the program. Maybe they've been helped by the scholarship. What is their, how do you see them sort of transform throughout that process?
Well, it's interesting. It's being able to have the scholarship is really sort of a weight off of my students. Like, there are many students who wouldn't be here if they didn't have access to the scholarship. A couple of other perks that we also offer are all of our students get a free laptop that they get to keep, which, since we're so online in the class, it really helps. I know that I've had students in the past trying to do classwork on their phones, and it works, but just not very well. And so all of the students enrolled in the program get a laptop that they get to keep forever. And then we also are doing bookstore vouchers. So if you do have scholarship that isn't covering everything, each student gets a $250 bookstore voucher each semester as well, because books are a huge expense that sometimes it's hard for students to get that money together, and I've had students borrow books, and I try to keep them in the library, but this helps them as well. It gives them a sense of ease in the program. I think that's one less thing they have to worry about. They don't have to worry about paying for their books. They don't have to worry about tuition. Certainly they still have to worry about other things. They have to worry about getting to class on time. They have to worry about who's going to take care of their kids while they're at class and all that stuff. But if we can get one of those or two of those out of the mix, that's helpful. And they're very excited. They're very excited to have the opportunity to be in this program at Parkland again, and to be able to get that degree and move on to whatever it is that they're planning to do.
That's wonderful. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
That's what we're all about, and so it's great to hear that success with your students.
Yeah.
Well, Amy, thank you so much for being on the show.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate it. That's it for this episode of the Parkland Report. We talked to the people making things happen at Parkland College, and Amy and Brennan are sort of no exception to that role. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.